Okay, so I know some people are very uncomfortable when they see deep bruises. Fortunately, it's the corgi's fault, and yeah. Also, there's some flashing because I'm filming outside. Bye! Okay, we're getting down to it because, honestly, the sun is setting and we're facing the west there. It's because it's gonna be there, and that's gonna be really inconvenient for me. I'm already wearing sunglasses, now you know why. The train's gone, the neighbor sprinklers are moving away, we're good, we're golden. My name's Kate. I like to explain things, and today I'm going to explain intersectionality. Boy, howdy. Essentially, I came up with an idea for a video, right? An angle on this thing that I hope is helpful and useful to people. If I've seen a lot of videos explaining what intersectionality is, I expect you guys have too. But I don't know, some people are brand new. They are children. Some people are, I guess because I talk about religion sometimes, people might be shown this who are conservative? I don't know. Either way, I have been an intersectional feminist for 10 years. So often when people talk about things like intersectionality and feminism, what they're looking for is like this purity test of theory, right? Where if you, once you've read enough theory, then I cannot tell you, when I was in college, the number of women who are like, I think I'm a feminist, but actually I don't know. It's like, what do you mean you think you're a feminist? Do you believe women and men should be treated based on things other than, you shouldn't necessarily treat women differently because of their gender? Do you think men and women should be paid the same for the same work? Come on! Do we think that women should get whoever's staying at home because they literally, because somebody had a baby? Somebody somewhere had a baby, and so you have to stay home to take care of that baby? Do you think those people should be penalized for doing that? No? I guess you're a feminist too. One of my goals is to present an explanation that you don't have to read the Kimberly Crenshaw article that I definitely have not read and am very likely to never read, that created the concept of intersectionality as far as internet feminists. It would have you do that. And I sure do that. I will link it below because, you should. I try not to link things that I have never read and probably will never read, but I doubt that there's something, scandalous in there. So go ahead. Or maybe there is something scandalous and you should read it to find out. But I don't think so. I think you can just in any exploration, the kind that I'm going to engage with now, understand the main thrust of what intersectionality is. Because ultimately, I think a lot of times we start with very polarized identities, which makes it hard to listen maybe for people. But then, so height. We're starting from a place of height because I think it's, obviously a good thing to be tall on the surface because it's easier to bend down than to get a stool, right? But objectively, you do get paid more, maybe, if you're a tall person, but specifically, you might get paid more if you're a tall man. Oh, one weird fact that might not be true anymore: the tallest person in the presidential debate becomes the president of the United States. Isn't that wild? Also, what is happening with the lipstick? Oh, it's melting because I'm hot. Y'all, it's 80 degrees, and it's only the second day that's at 80 degrees all year. It's gonna be okay. Yeah, so you want to be tall, but I've already given it away. You want to be a tall man. You don't want to be a tall woman, unless you're, not that invested in the identity of being a woman. So it's actually kind of nice to be tall. Not speaking from personal experience or anything, I don't get mad that my doctor rounds down my height to make me 5'9" instead of 5'10". That's not me. I am perfectly acceptable in the number of times that I have spent longer to discover the fact that I had lipstick on my teeth and then had to re-record something. I talked a little bit more about how your age, your height, your gender, they're all tied up together. Because for me to talk about my height, the way I see myself, I have to go back to being this height, my adult height, when I was 13. When I was 14, I was this tall. And people who have, there are people who have different stories from me that had it worse than me because they were taller than me, maybe at a younger age. But ultimately, I was tall for a human when I was 13. I am no longer tall for a human. I'm kind of normal sized for a human. But because that happened when I was 13, at a time where I was really convinced the only acceptable way to have a crush was if that crush was taller than me, bringing sexuality into it, because if you can logic your way out of a crush because they're shorter than you, is it really a crush at all? And my aromantic self would like to say probably not. But I, as a tall young girl, was navigating these areas. And you can't tell my story about being tall, about learning how to gauge how tall other people were, because I was in this, I've probably spent 2 hours of my life in a grand total of time thinking about, is that person taller than me or what? Which is a lot of time for somebody who doesn't care about romance, which is, by the way, what aromantic means. It means that I don't care about romance, really. It's not a big deal to me. I understand it is for other people. That's not for me. Occasionally it is. Most of the time it's not. You can't tell my story about being tall without talking about my gender, without talking about my sexuality, and to be honest, without talking about my race. Because guess what? Guess who is equally of height with me and who gets called this transphobic nonsense of weirdness, even though she's a beautiful woman who has in no way ever presented herself as anything besides high femme. Meg the Stallion. Don't mess with me on this, because the reason you maybe clicked on this video is because I'm going to include her in the thumbnail. People, according to the folks that tell me about it on the internet, because I don't see it, because I couldn't be bothered to be in a space where somebody's calling Megan the Stallion, this beautiful woman who I'm sure I'm showing many pictures of at this exact moment in time. I couldn't possibly be in the same space as somebody who calls this beautiful woman manly. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So because I'm an intersectional feminist, I kind of know, because the other intersectional feminists who trained me up and who I listen to as part and parcel of my experience of the internet can tell me and have taught me that what it is racism and colorism. But I can't speak with authority on that. So I highly recommend you go listen to people like T Noir or Khadija Mambo, or I guess FD signifier if you want to have a man tell you about these things, which whatever, you might. I can't help that. But even with all this story that I can easily tap into because I've been telling it for myself for almost 20 years, I'm still missing something, because no one in my entire life has ever called me manly. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And apparently it's one of the internet's favorite pastimes with Meg, and I'm the same height as her. I don't, if anything, she might be more womanly of figure than me. And you know what I've never been called? Ever? Manly. We both participate in high femme behavior in presentation. Sure, she has a more masculine profession than I do, but I really have a hard time believing really have a hard time believing that that's the real reason somebody would call her masculine and me feminine. So I guess, to round up, I think we spend a lot of time thinking, oh, there's some sort of theory that will explain this. You really need to get into the theory to be convinced of something. And I'm here to tell you, you really don't. You can if you want. Sometimes it helps people. I'm going to be honest, when I needed to change a prejudicial view of mine that I struggled with for years, and I've talked about it already on the channel in the Shane video that got copyright, whatever. So YouTube won't show it to you, so you have to come find it yourself. I talked about it there. When I needed to change a prejudiced view I had, there was literally a class that I took that helped me finalize my beliefs, and so now I don't believe that being gay is a sin. And so you do have to come to these things whatever way that you end up coming to these things. I will admit that, but you can also just tell your own stories. And in the telling of those stories, you can see how different aspects of who you are come into form a different thing. We can tell in the telling of our own stories, we get to intersectionality naturally. I've been telling the same stories about being tall since I was 13. I was 13 long before I became an intersectional feminist. But because I understand now, I have this method of dealing with, seeing the world and my place in it, and other people, and how their experience might be different from mine, even if we do share a lot of similarities. Because boy, did I have a lot of short friends who didn't experience gender the way I experienced gender, right? For them, height has nothing to do with their gender. It does for me. It does for me, right? Because I, until the men caught up, was too tall, and now I don't care as much but it's because the men caught up, right? There's these anyway. You don't need theory. You can just tell your own story, and that can be enough to start identifying or feel more familiar and feel an authority about the knowledge that you've gained. Because you do have to learn some things to get better at being a feminist, and especially an intersectional feminist. But a lot of it are skills based, and then it's just knowledge. So once you learn the skill of shutting up, of listening to other people and trusting their experience, once you learn that skill, you're pretty good. As the next is just knowledge, and it's just picking up knowledge, like I said, of Black women experience gender differently than I do, and especially dark-skinned or women with more traditionally Afrocentric features get treated differently, and I know this because I've been told it. That's knowledge that I have, that I can then use to make better informed decisions about how I should treat people, right? And how I should react, and how I should be there for my friends, or how I'm now realizing I didn't put on sunscreen. What did I say? What did I say? That the sun was gonna come down, was gonna be in the shot soon? I'm really sorry if somebody was just flashed in an unfortunate way. So take that name, I give you permission. Theory is nice, theory is good, but the practice of a thing doesn't require theory. The practice of a thing is why there are so many women who I would label feminists who wouldn't label themselves feminists. Because the practice, and to be fair, the practice of the thing is what matters. So if what I've said today has not convinced you that you're an intersectional feminist, okay, that's fine. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to explain what intersectionality is. And I guess intersectionality is a way of understanding how identities, ways of viewing yourself come together to form complex, different things. How one thing over here and another thing over here combine to form a third thing. But that's even reducing it, because we are complicated people, and I think that's one of the things that gets in the way, to be honest, of some people really embracing this idea, is they want us to be simple. And I'm here to tell you, you are not simple. You are not a simple person. And anybody who's trying to tell you you are a simple person who only needs to be one thing, even if that one thing is Christian, that person's trying to manipulate you into making yourself smaller. And we already know how I feel about that. I've already made that really dumb joke about how my doctor wants me to be smaller than I am. We don't want to be smaller. We want to be complex. Because we are. We are. Whether or not we want to be. We're multifaceted people who at different times think about ourselves in different ways. But ultimately, in the end, we are but one. We are one being. I'm still Kate. I think I've explained something. It's like my third time trying to do it. So, hopefully I did. And, yeah, stay tuned. If you're here for religion, believe me, it'll come back. But, yeah. Okay, I'm done. Bye! Bye!
Hey, I realized I didn't actually explain anything of the transphobia thing, because, like, yeah, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. When you call a woman manly, you're engaging in transphobia, not necessarily to the cisgender woman that Megan Thee Stallion is, but, like, that's what transphobia is. If a woman is manly, she's still a woman, but you're implying that it's an insult that she's manly, which is kind of just queerphobic, to be honest. But it's also a very specific part of misogynoir, which is the thing that is posited in Kimberly Crenshaw's work, which is exactly why I will once again point out why you should, if you want to, read her paper. Yeah. If you want to, you don't have to. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the skill of personal accountability. That is for sure very important for intersectional feminists to develop, and probably takes more time because it's about being accountable for your own emotions instead of requiring people to handle them for you. Because if somebody is saying something that brings up a big emotional reaction for you, but they're not necessarily, like, they have not said your name, right? They've not called you out by name. They're just kind of saying this is a thing that happens. It's on you to be accountable for your own emotions in that instance. But yeah, I guess all three skills that I've talked about are kind of, it does take time to develop, and you do have to work at it, but you can. You're gonna be fine. Hope you liked the extra corgis. They're rascals. Okay. Bye for real this time.